Hi and welcome to One Week at a Time. My name's Brett Burden and today I want to talk to you about general principles, well, one in particular. But what is a general principle? First of all, one we all know, gravity's a really good one. We all understand that what goes up must come down. We don't argue with it. We can't argue with it. It just happens. Whether it's working for us or whether it's working against us, doesn't really matter. The fact is, it is what it is. It's there. So that's a general principle, just something that we just understand. Whether we understand it totally or not, why it happens, how it happens, doesn't really matter. It just happens. The principle that I want to talk to you about today is called the Pareto Principle, and that came from early 1900s, an Italian economist called Vilfredo Pareto. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but I hope that's, my Italian's not great. In fact, my Italian's not at all, but that'll do us for now. So Vilfredo, what he realised being an economist, in his village, 20% of the people held 80% of the wealth. Now, you may have heard that before, but that's where it originated from. So Vilfredo, he took that information, he started looking at other parts of his life and started applying it to other areas, and he found that same rule applied in every other aspect of life. For example, he was a keen gardener, and he realised that 20% of the pea pods produced 80% of the yield of peas, or whatever. But the fact is, it still worked. Didn't matter what it was, it still worked. So, understanding this information and harnessing that information, we can actually start to look at how that rule is working for us or against us in business right now and start taking advantage of it. So let's have a look at some examples of how it might be affecting your business. First of all, 80% of decisions come from in a meeting, for example. So 80% of the things that we're going to act on come from 20% of the time that we spend in those meetings. So how can we better utilize the time in meetings? 80% of the interruptions that a business owner is going to get normally comes from 20%, the same 20% of people within the business. How can we utilize that information? When you look at your sales revenue, for example, you'll find that 80% of the sales revenue comes from the same 20% of clients that you have. Or even from the point of view of 80% of your sales come from 20% of the same salespeople each month or each period. So understanding that this rule is actively working within your business can help you really take more control of your business. And of course, it's not only just happening, as I say, in your business, it's just happening in life in general. On the sporting field, 80% of the trophies and awards that are given out to the same 20% of competitors. I was reading a paper the other day and they were talking about issues within schools. 20% of the students create 80% of the upheaval within a school. So the principle is just working. Project managers know that 20% of the work that they're going to do, 20% of the work, the first 10% and the last 10% consume 80% of the resources and time within that project. That's interesting as well. So, you know, as I say, whether we're aware of it or not, it's happening within our business. Learn how to harness it. The reason I'm talking about the Pareto Principle today is because next week I want to actually talk about one of those things that I talked about earlier and how we can utilize that information to help us gain more profits from our business. That's got to be a good thing, right? So we're going to talk about that next week. I would like you to, within the next week, jump online, jump on Google, type in Vilfredo Pareto or Pareto Principle, and gain some knowledge on that before we actually go into it again next week. The reason I bring it up also is because, as I say, it applies to everything that we do. So in future One Week at a Times, whether we're actually going to be talking about the Pareto Principle or not, it's going to be actively working within there. So I'm going to keep bringing it up over time. Anyway, I hope you got something out of today. I hope you go and do some homework for us and actually have a bit of a read and learn about the Pareto Principle, the 80-20 rule, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.